Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to our final project demonstration video. The title of our project is Voice Recognition using DFT and FFT, and it was done for the course EEE 212 Numerical Techniques Laboratory. It was done by the students of Group 8, Section B1 of EEE Level 2 Term 1. So this is the MATLAB GUI which we developed. On the left hand segment we can all see all the control options. On the right hand side we have 4 distinct plots and the status bar which shows the voice recognition result. Now if we look into the training option segment, we have 2 buttons and a field where we can input speaker's name. So in the speaker name window, we are able to input any kind of name, and then if we hit record and save training button, what it will do is actually open up the microphone for 5 seconds and record any 5 seconds clip, and then store it into the voice training folder, which I have opened up here. For demonstration, if I hit the button, the status bar will show clear indications of when to speak and when to not for maximum efficiency. And after the speaking window closes, it will show that the recording has been saved, and we can clearly see in the training voice training folder that the recording has been also saved. The next button we have under the training options window is the build database button. What it does is actually initializes the voice training algorithm. The voice training algorithm scans for all the audio files that are stored in the voice training folder and extracts its necessary features, then stores it into a database for future comparison with the input. So if you press the build database button, we can clearly see that the 5 speakers have been trained here, though there are numerous or more than 5 samples in this voice training folder. Our program is able to actually average samples which have the similar or same names. Then our offline recognizer segment is able to actually input any audio files which is stored offline into our computer and extract its features and compare it with the database. So here are 6 audio files that we have actually stored in our voice input folder. If we enter any audio file, our corresponding algorithm matching with it will actually be shown here. And as we can see clearly from the output window that the match is being shown with the score and confidence rating and with corresponding plots, which we will describe later. Then ultimately, the most attractive feature of our app is the live recognizer segment, where if we press the button, we are able to actually record a 5-second audio clip live, and then our recognition result will be shown here without any prior need to actually save it into somewhere else. So for demonstration, if I hit this button, our status bar will clearly indicate us when to speak and when to not. Hello, hello. Hello. So from my voice sample, it clearly shows that the match was me, and my confidence rating for this match was 65%. The clear all button resets everything into its default position. The tolerance slider of our app actually allows us to choose how much lenient or how much strict are we going to be with our recognition. For example, if we actually increase the tolerance slider to its maximum 10 Hz position and we run the recognizer for file number 1, we can clearly see that the confidence was 90%. If I reduce the tolerance slider to 2 Hz and run the same file again, the confidence drops down to 45%. So ultimately, depending on different voice recording scenarios, the user is able to choose between a different tolerance level according to their own will. At the top of our control segment, we have algorithm selection toggle where we can switch between FFT and DFT. FFT is much faster compared to DFT, but both were included in our project for demonstration and conceptual understanding. So if we choose file number 1 for DFT and enter, we can clearly see the status bar is saying the status, the file is loading, and the runtime is about 4.5 seconds. In the same case or same file, if we run it with FFT, the runtime is significantly lower. Therefore, for mass scale and project, it is recommended to actually use the FFT for efficiency. So here is our output segment, which actually contains 4 different plots for visualization of the process. The first plot is the input spectrum or the frequency domain signal of the audio file. Next, we have the plot of input peaks where we are taking peaks in each 25 Hz bands from 50 to 550 Hz range and storing it and showing it in graph. The reason for choosing this range is because human dominant pitch actually lies within this range and we do not need much higher frequency than this for analyzation. In the third plot, we have our database closest frequency fingerprint match with the input, and the last plot is basically the comparison plot between our input peaks and the database closest match peaks. It also shows the result and its confidence. The result is also shown in the status bar with its score out of 20 and confidence rating. So these were the overall features that we have incorporated in our app and our app is capable of showing. In the next segment, we will actually look into the backend of the code and understand the undergoing process a bit more in depth. So this is the overall system architecture or the workflow. The key fundamental part here are the training pipeline, feature extraction pipeline, and the comparison algorithm that actually runs in our program. So if we look into the training pipeline implementation, our training pipeline is able to scan for folders for WAV files. It actually groups by speaker names And if we have audio clip less than 4 seconds, we actually discard it because that amount of short audio clip actually becomes unreliable. Then we extract the feature vectors or our corresponding features that we need and store it into a database. Our model is also able to average multiple samples having the similar names, and the average data is getting actually stored in the database. Here is the database structure also shown. That database structure actually consists of arrays of strings where we actually store the speakers' names, and corresponding to each string we have array of double where we actually store the feature vectors or our extracted features. The feature extraction implementation pipeline is the most fundamental part of our project. For this, we firstly actually load only 2 to 4 second segments because that's where the speakers are most consistent, and it actually helps us to reduce inconsistencies with the start of our recording and the end of the recording. So then we normalize the amplitude. We resample it down from 48,000 kHz to 4 kHz. For this resampling, we actually used built-in function rather than actually going for manual decimation through loop. This resample function is able to actually apply a low-pass filter to avoid aliasing, so it is much more preferable. Resampling down helps us to actually reduce computational capacities needed by our computers, since we actually do not need much more higher frequency for actually human pitch recognition, because our dominant speaking frequency actually lies well within 500 Hz. Resampling it down actually does not hamper us that much. Then we actually compute the FFT or DFT spectrum. The FFT is computed through the built-in FFT algorithm or FFT function, and the DFT is computed through our custom function that we actually coded ourselves. And then from that we actually extract the 20 peaks ranging from 50 to 550 Hz in each 25 Hz bands. So this is our corresponding code to actually extract the 20 spectral peaks from our frequency domain signal. And a key thing to notice here, that each frequency beans are in 0.5 Hz intervals, since we are actually working with 8,000 samples. Our sampling rate is 4,000 Hz, and we're only processing 2 second windows, so 8,000 samples. And the corresponding formula actually gives us 0.5 Hz in frequency interval bins. And so the code is set that way so that it runs efficiently and extracts all the maximum peaks from each intervals. And then if we go into the speaker matching implementation or algorithm, the matching algorithm is quite simple. We actually extract the features for the speaker in a similar manner, and we actually run a loop and compare with each database samples with our speakers. And if our comparison point or a frequency location point actually lies within threshold, we actually score a point for that database speaker. And ultimately, whoever from the database has the highest score corresponding to our input file, we actually show them as a result. So here are the code files or the algorithm files that we actually required for the system to run. So here is the voice feature or the voice feature extraction code, which actually uses the FFT algorithm. And here's the voice feature extraction code, which actually uses the DFT algorithm. And through our app callbacks, we actually call different algorithms based on what is toggled or what is the settings on the control segment of the app. So this is the voice training script, and this is a particular path that is set for voice training script. It is important to note that if our project file directory is somewhere else, this path needs to be updated. We have included a quarter inverse math built-in function to actually organize the speakers, and we have tried to incorporate as much edge case scenarios as possible to actually make this efficient and easy to debug. And also, lastly, this is the DFT transform function, which is quite simple. We just apply the formula through double loop iterations, and if we toggle it to DFT, all our features, all our extraction features and recognition algorithm actually runs through this algorithm. So then, if you actually go into the app code view, you can clearly see many types of callbacks that we actually used here. So this is the callback that we actually used to run the recognition algorithm. We have incorporated a time non-blocking code segment, so our status bar is able to actually run even when we are recording because of that. Then if we actually go into the record button, it actually records our audio file, and we have app process audio function. If we actually go to the process audio function, here we can see this is the algorithm that actually is the main algorithm for matching. We're actually basically matching for 20 points and trying to find the highest score. And here is the speaker, here is the algorithm that actually tries to find the highest score. And we also have the plotting algorithms here, or plotting functions here included. So this was the brief overview of the backend structure and how we organized everything. The functions, callbacks, and overall script files were from within the app that we actually refer to. So we tried to make the app actually as robust as possible, as complete as possible, and as standalone as possible. Meaning through the app, one speaker can actually record the samples, train the samples, and even run the recognition algorithm. Thank you for overall watching our project demonstration. I hope you liked our project. We plan to work on it further and enhance it even more if possible.